Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome to a DPL video post mids. I'm going to be talking about how the tour has been going for the first 3 weeks. Basically my experience, because this is my first time playing in DPL. And then at the end, I'll probably go over my 3 games real quick that I've played so far. But I'm really not going to go too into detail on those games because everyone watching this video already pretty much knows how those games go. So again, mids just happened. Mids is basically just a time when players can be picked up and dropped, as well as changes to the rosters. The Pokemon rosters can be changed. So 6 out of the 8 teams made some changes player-wise. I think the only 2 who did not were Made in Heaven and Band, and it kind of makes sense for them because, well, Band is way ahead of everyone right now in the standings. I think they have the strongest roster, really no question. But it's also hard for them because they both don't have a ton of players, so they'd have to drop one of their few players if they wanted to make any changes. So, but anyways, looking at Wig here, first was they dropped Burger for OG Albina. I think Burger was struggling a bit. I think he was 0-2, and it was his first DPL. And then they picked up OG Albina, who I think this is also his first DPL. So, in terms of player ability, I know these two pretty well. I don't think there's a huge difference. However, Burger was struggling, so even if OG Albina plays a couple games and he loses all of them, it would pretty much be the same thing of how Burger was doing anyways. So I think there's definitely a chance for OG Albina or Owen to perform better than what Burger was doing. I don't really know if Burger got hacked or anything, or how the games really went. I wasn't paying too attention, but I think the pickup makes a lot of sense. He also slots in SV, which is what I think Burger slotted in. So when you have a small roster like this, you pretty much keep the same players in their respective tiers, except for maybe one person who kind of rotates based off of the extra tier. So I think the pickup makes a lot of sense. They did have to spend all 7K of their budget on him. They could have gotten an extra player if nobody else bid on him, but I think someone did bid on Owen. I think it was Toe. So they were forced just to pretty much drop one to pick up one. So could definitely be a positive change for them. Gotta see how he plays. We actually played them first week coming back, week 4, so we'll see if he slots or not and how the game goes. Let's see, Madmen picked up, or they dropped Metro. So bit of an odd drop because Metro did not play a game. So I don't know if he was just inactive, in the in the team server. I don't really know what happened. And then they picked up ASDF. So it's a bit interesting because Metro is, I think he's mainly a Gen 6 player, maybe Gen 7 too. And I think ASDF will most likely play in Gen 9, maybe Gen 8. So bit of a tier difference in the player that he dropped compared to picked up, but I think ACF is a good player. This is his first DPL as well, but I think he went 1-2 with Toe, and then Toe dropped him. But ASDF is one of those players that, for some reason for me, I played him a bunch, maybe 5 or 6 times, and I think I've only beaten him once. I struggled to beat him. I don't know what it is, but he's a good player in my opinion. He's just 1-2. I don't know what happened, but I think people kind of just like his drafting sometimes, but in terms of playing ability, I think he's really solid. So for 3K, definitely think that's an upgrade. Madman is definitely in the playoff race, so I think that can definitely help them a lot. And we'll see how it goes. I don't know if he's been friends with anyone on the team, but I think he'll do good there, especially with Habitas prep support and stuff like that. So iPro and Lejon, again, they did not make any changes, so I think they're tied for last at the moment, but I don't think the teams in last are really out of it at this point. It's just going to be hard for them to kind of climb back into playoffs, but I think they're going to have to win probably 3 out of 4 series remaining. So no changes for them. Toe dropped ASDF for J-Scurf and Nim. So I don't really know much about J-Scurf. I think he's a Wi-Fi player. I'm not too sure. I've never really seen him play. And then Nim I've known for a long time, but I actually haven't seen him play a Gen 9 game in a while either. So I don't know what tier he's going to be playing in. Again, I think ASDF is a good player, but if he just wasn't fitting with the team, then it makes sense to get 2 players for him. I'm just really unsure how these 2 players are going to perform. So it could be a downgrade, it could be an upgrade. I'm not really too sure. We'll see where they slot and how they do. Band Chasers, they're in first place. They are the team to beat. They didn't make any changes. I think they're the one team that really shouldn't need to make changes. So I think actually everyone on their team is positive, besides maybe Lax, and Lax got unlucky, his 2 losses. So he could literally be positive as well. So this team could literally just be all positive. And it definitely helps when your 2 captains are top 5 players. So, but their players are really good too. So, really solid team. Legion of Boom. So this is where I think they had this team I think had a big upgrade for mids. So they dropped Golden Cyber and Hacker, who combined for 0-1 record. Cyber didn't play and Hacker just lost one game. And they picked up Nerf and Dawn Mist. Nerf, I'm really surprised that he didn't get drafted in the initial auction. I think he's a really good player. I think he just won DGBA recently as well. And then Dawn Mist is a good like old gen player. So I think two big upgrades to this team will definitely help them a bunch. I believe they're also tied for last, but they have to their credit, they have been kind of unlucky. Everyone knows the Itzia Freeze versus Sylvie. They should have won that series if that game didn't happen. And then week 3, it did come down to a game 8 where Hacker could have got their team a win, but they did drop. So they had a close series. I think their team is better than where they are in the standings. However, the thing about this team is like I don't think they have a player that like you're like for sure this player is going to go 3-0 or like 6-1 or even 5-2. Like they have solid players, but they don't have like a just top like player that you expect to have a really good season. Maybe like Undead is that player. Robert can be good, but I think he's struggling 0-2 right now, and a couple of people have said like his building has been a little off or something. I don't know, but overall I still think this team will have a significant upgrade going into the latter half of the season. Porygon, they didn't really do much. They just added Marshy, so they have a lot of players that are kind of just like 5k players. So it just basically depends on how Marshy will do. I'm sure she'll slot a couple weeks, maybe not every single week, but it's kind of hard to tell just if it'll have a positive or negative impact. You don't really know what's going to happen there. And then our team, the Duke Blade versus Goliath, we just dropped PTK, who was 1-0 to his credit, but his game was very funny, I guess is a good word for it. And we picked up Bronson. Bronson's pretty solid because he has a lot of experience and he is an old gen player, which is what we wanted. We were going to initially pick up, I think, Nerf and even Dawn Mist, but they got sniped, so we went with Bronson. Bronson's really solid though. I've teamed with him before. He's a good guy. So nothing too crazy, to be honest, for the mids changes. And then obviously everyone made changes to their drafts, which I'm not really going to go over. So looking at the standings are sorted by points initially. So as L5 made a nice note to basically explain how it works, a win is 2 points and a draw is 1 point. There's 8 games in a week, so if you go 4-4, you get a draw. So yeah, Band is way ahead of everyone. They have the most points and the most games won. Dublade versus Goliath, we're in second place because we're the only team with 2 series wins besides Band. We're tied with Wig and Toe in points, but the first tiebreaker is series wins, so we are ahead. And then it's games won. So I think for us, we're going to have to win probably 2. Well, we're going to have to win at least 2 of the last 4 series. Because our games win are so low, we need to get those series wins for sure. It'll be tough to see if 5 teams get at least 4 series wins. I'm not sure if that's possible. So if we win 2 more series, I think we'll be okay to secure a playoff spot. I do think the top 4 teams currently will end up in the playoffs. Madmen have been doing really, really solid, especially because their best player has been 0-3, which is insane. Like obviously nobody expected that, but they're still able to have 3 points. I'm surprised. Wait, they're 16-11, really? I could have sworn I looked at this before and I thought they had like 13 wins. Wait, what is happening? Yeah, it should be 24 games, not 27 total. So this is something happened here. They should be 13-11, I'm pretty sure, not 16-11. But yeah, anyways, so they have a hard schedule. That's the only thing. So they still have to play Toe, Wig, and Band, I believe, Madmen. So that's why I think it might be hard for them to win the series. They definitely can, though. Like I said, if Habita, he can easily end the season 4-3 or even 3-4. It's just going to come down to, I think, if their top players remain, on their streak. I think their top 4 are combined like 10-1 or something crazy like that. So Band has like 6 players in the top 20, so of course they're going to be way ahead. But I definitely think our team can hold the playoff spot. We got our butts kind of handed to us versus Band week 3. We lost 7-1. And obviously that's a bad thing, but I do think it's kind of like a wake-up call to us as well, because we were going into week 3 in first place. We were the only team to win 2 series. Then we kind of just got destroyed. So it's a good wake-up call. We're definitely going to focus going into the latter half of the season, and then I think our team is very capable of winning most series. I think when people did like their power rankings at the beginning, I think majority of people said we were like a borderline playoff team. Some I think it was, who was it? I think it was like Vest or something said that we're like the worst DPL team ever or something. I think he just wanted to kind of say that there's a team worse than Old Heads, but I don't think that's ever gonna happen. But yeah, so we're doing pretty good. I think we could definitely keep it up. And then I like DPL because it's one of those tours where like this does happen in I guess all the tours, but this one especially, where like you have players in the top half of the standings where like you just didn't think would be up there, and then you have players all the way at the bottom that just you would not think either. Like the 4 0-3 players, I think majority of the people would like think that they'd be 3-0 or at least 2-1. Going 0-3 for these 4 is kind of crazy, but I definitely think all 4 of these guys will have better second halves of the season. And then at the top, there's like I think 3, 1, 2. There's 3. I think there's 3 players that this is their first time playing DPL, and they're 3-0. Lucas, myself, and Sage. Now Sage was kind of expected to do really good. She went for like 19k because she's been doing good all over. But myself and Lucas too were like 5Ks and 6K players, and we're 3-0. Not saying that's gonna hold up, but it's definitely nice to see. And that's another reason why I think our team too, kind of like Madman, I think our team is gonna be fine going into the second half, is because our 3 best players, which are Zazo, Aki, and Kyle, they're combined like 2 and 7. They're not having a good first half of the season, but there's no way that's gonna hold up. They're way too good of players to kind of have that repeating kind of games going into the second half. Again, just like the Madman, I think it's gonna come down to if our weaker players like myself, Lux, Odin even can continue our like wins. We're 7-1 between us 3. Odin can't play one more week because of his he's binded to his sign up where he said he was unavailable, but week 5 he should be back. So I think that's fine. I think maybe the seedings will change, but I think the top 4 teams right now will end up going into the playoffs. So I think our team has been pretty solid, prep wise and activity wise. Definitely Yehoodles has been putting in the work for being a captain. He doesn't play, but he's been mocking a lot, giving ideas and stuff like that. Zazo has been really hands-on, especially in the older gens. He does help SV at sometimes, but he's more focused on Gen 6 through 8, which is fine. He doesn't have like the most experience in Gen 9, so he can't like be everywhere. But he's definitely worth the 55k. He's been putting in a lot of work, and even though he's 1 and 2 himself, he's definitely helping other players win their games. Literally everyone is active. I don't think there's a single person really that's just kind of dead on the team, so that's really, really solid because we have a lot of players too. Bronson's, I'm sure, going to be very active at Team Number 4 too. So yeah, I like our chances going into the second half of the season. I'm going to go ahead and go over my 3 games really, really quickly. Again, if you're watching this video, you're probably seeing these 3 games, but I will just go over them very slightly. Really not go into too much detail though. This game especially, this game was one of the most like telegraphed games I've ever played. Like it pretty much went exactly how Mox went. And I played Habita twice recently before this in the TGS, and I have beaten him both times, so he's still looking to get me back for those. And this is game 7. This is very important. The series is tied 3-3 at that point, so whoever wins this game here does guarantee a point for their team, and then their teammate in game 8 can bring home the series if they both win, basically. So this was a bad matchup for me. I know like people probably say that all the time about their matchups, but it really was. I think this might have been the worst matchup our team had all week, just because he has double offensive electric types, and my ground is Ursaluna, and obviously Rotom gets Hydro Pump, and Thundurus gets Grass Knot and Focus Blast, which are 120 base power. So it's very easy for Ursaluna to get pressured here, and then him just Volt Switch around and basically wear my team down. Meowscarada was also very, very hard for my team to deal with. It's going to have fighting coverage, it's going to have U-turn, it's going to have knockoff, so that's really all it needs. And so Hab is a player that wins in the builder, and what I mean by that is he kind of is he's a top builder. Like there's no question about it. He's a top 5 draft player for sure right now. He's probably even top 2, top 1 SV, but he wins in the builder. He doesn't make aggressive plays because his build kind of lets him pilot the game, very easily and effectively, and he can just win like that. So I knew I had to kind of have good prep myself, and I might need to make a prediction here or there. But if my prep is solid, then I don't have to do that, and he's going to have to be the one to basically make predictions, and that's going to make him uncomfortable. And I think that's how I'll be able to come away with a win here. So I thought of Scarf Tinkaton here, one, because he doesn't have, you know, a great fairy resist. I will say the Terra types as well. Both of his electric types are Terra captains too, so that made it even worse too. But Rotom was Ghost and Thunderous was Terra Flying. Ghost was to block the spin, makes sense. Flying, again, I don't really have a flying resist either, it's just Tinkaton. And then my Terra captain was Sneasler, was also Terra Flying. But so I liked Scarf Tinkaton for two reasons. One, he didn't have a great fairy resist, it was just his own Tinkaton, which doesn't get recovery. And two, if I'm Scarfed, I played a bunch of lead Scarf Meowscaradas and Mox. I figured that was the set that was the most scary set for my team. And turn one, it gives me the information right away. If he's not Scarfed and he stays in, I kill him. If he is Scarfed, I know that he is Scarfed and he does not know that I'm Scarfed. So, of course, he is Scarfed. He goes right for that U-turn, and he goes into Tinkaton. So again, any chip on Tinkaton is great. My switch into Tink is always Blastoise to spin away those rocks because my Chi-Yu is not heavy-duty boots. Now, one thing about me in Play Rough is I always miss that move. I don't know what it is. I just cannot land that move to save my life. But I think I throw off 6 Play Roughs this game, and I hit all 6, so it's kind of crazy. I go into Ursaluna on the predicted Volt Switch, and Seed Bomb is just a nice click there because it hits the Rotom as well as a potential switch into Tusk. Now I go into Blastoise expecting maybe a knockoff or a double rocks if he has 2 rockers, so I can just spin him away, or I can just slow flip turn if he doesn't do that. So the Great Tusk is pretty much almost dead, which is great news for my Sneasler. Now I use this opportunity to get my Stealth Rock, and then I don't think I made any misplays besides maybe one this entire game. I think I played this game pretty much perfectly, and I don't say that often, but I really don't think I did. So I'm able to stay in with Uxie versus Meowscarada because I know I can live any hit. I'm fully Fizz Def and he's Scarfed. So I go for U-turn, and he does call that to get more Helmet Chip on my Uxie. And then this is like the one turn which it wasn't a huge deal, but it was a misplay. Zazo was like, I should have Psychicked here. I clicked Flamethrower. Psychic covers, it kills this. It does more to Rotom than Flamethrower. Does more to Dragalge than Flamethrower. And it'd be very interesting if he went hard Meowscarada or hard Tinkaton when I could have easily clicked a fire move like I do here. So I should have clicked Psychic here, do a bit more chip to the Rotom. I do find out that he is Max Videf Assault Vest though. Now Uxie did his job, I got a Brox and then got some momentum, so I can pretty much just sack this thing off. And then once it dies, I can go back into Chi-Yu. And again, Assault Vest Rotom has no recovery and rocks are up, so he is taking as much chip as it can, and it's going to get worn down very quickly. Now, he gets a free switch into Chi-Yu, and he goes into Rotom, which is very interesting because when you go into like a defensive piece that is on a timer based off of like rocks and stuff, it means like he doesn't really have much to pressure this thing offensively. I thought he would have went Meowscarada because Brick Break did OHKO me. I suppose he didn't know if I was Chople at this point. But even like Thunderous, I know Thunderous can live a hit and it probably has Focus Blast as well. So the fact that he just went into a defensive piece and took more chip means like he's really behind here in my opinion. The health on Tinkaton does not matter at all, so I just go into Tinkaton expecting a Volt Switch or a Hydro Pump. He does unfortunately miss Hydro Pump, and I get to throw off another Play Rough. So this thing can't switch it anymore. It's gonna get 2-shot next time. And this is where I think that if he was a more aggressive player, he could have definitely brought this game back. I felt like I was in the driver's seat this entire game, right? But I've shown my switch in to be Blastoise versus Tinkaton once already, and because I really want to get the rocks off. So I think what he could have done is a double switch to Thunderous expecting my Blastoise, because at this point I think Thunderous is the only Pokemon that can win him the game. I was really scared of a specific set, and he didn't end up bringing that set, but it was basically Dual Dance. Now with Terra Flying, it makes sense that he wasn't Dual Dance, so I probably should have realized he wasn't going to be that set. But if he gets if I have to switch out versus Thunderous and he gets one free dance up, either Plot or Agility, nothing on my team can just OHKO him. So then he can get up a second boost, and then at +2 he actually OHKOs everything. Ursaluna has a chance to live, but it's in his favor. But he doesn't make that aggressive double, he just stays in with Tinkaton as I do Rapid Spin the rocks away. And then again, I want to keep these off for my Chi-Yu. So I don't know if I'm faster, so I just Surf, and then turns out he's still faster, but I could just Rapid Spin on the following turn. Now, this was a play that Zazo thought was a misplay, but I actually did this intentionally. So as I just explained, I did not want to give Thunderous a free, like I did not want to kill Rotom and then give Thunderous a free turn to set up. I didn't have a move that could do over half to Thunderous, so he can get the free dual dance versus my Blastoise if he gets a free switch. So you saw Rapid Spin do 10%, so I could have Rapid Spin to kill him, but I didn't want Thunderous to come in, so I just surfed. And I knew he was maxed with F Assault Vest, and I didn't want my Blastoise in front of the Thunderous for free, basically. So he goes Masquerada. Again, I can go into Tinkaton and just click Play Rough, right? And then I get a kill. He's probably going to sack one of the two Pokemon that died to Rocks, and it's the Rotom. And then this is the turn right here that pretty much decides the game. I know Play Rough two-shots this guy. He still does not know I'm Scarfed at this point. And if I miss a Play Rough, he can get up that double dance I'm afraid of. Again, he's Terra Flying, so I don't think he was the dual dance because he needs like Terra Blast, Thunderbolt, and then Grass Knot. I thought he was just going to be like Thunderbolt and Grass Knot because Thunderbolt hits everything and then it's just Grass Knot for these two guys. But I was scared of that, so I have to go for Play Rough. I have to stay in here. Thankfully, I do hit and I do over 57, or I do 57 over half. And he just makes a hard prediction into Ursaluna, and he has to switch. Sacks a Tinkaton, and then he goes into Dragalge, right? Which makes sense that it's a red card Dragalge. He's been holding it in the back for the Sneasler, but he has no other play. He has to burn the red card here. And at this point, the game is over. Once this thing pops, Sneasler wins once it comes in. Even if he pulled Sneasler in right here, he would have flip turned and popped my balloon, so I would have had the speed boost, acrobatics boost. I would have killed one Pokemon. Dragalge might have lived on a Slither, but then, you know, Chiyu / Ursaluna to clean up the other remaining Pokemon. So I choose to go Tinkaton on the Flower Trick, sack it, and now I know he's locked into Flower Trick, so this is a free SD for Sneasler, and then I can substitute as he breaks my balloon, because if you don't know, if you substitute and they attack the sub, the balloon still pops, giving me my Unburden and my acrobatics boost, and then 3 acrobatics knock out the remaining 3 Pokemon, and our team goes up 4-3, net ourselves a point with a tie at the minimum, and then Zaza was able to win game 8, so we actually came away with the win 5-3 over the Madman. So solid game, GG to Habitaman. I enjoy playing him all the time. I'm going to say that because he hasn't beaten me yet, but I'm sure he will at one point. We'll see if we get that rematch in the playoffs or not. So going into week 2, we're playing Legion Flames and Usum. I don't mind playing Usum or even Sword and Shield. I will play where my team needs me. Just Oras, I'm not really too strong in, and our 2 best players play Oras anyway, so I'm never going to have to play there. But at this point, the series is 3-1, we're up. So again, if I win this, I clinch at least a point and a tie for our team. And going into this game, I mean, again, because it's an older gen, Zazo did help me with an initial build. I did end up switching a lot of things, but I think I did keep at least 2 sets pretty similar to what he did. The biggest threat for sure was that Nidoking, if it was Scarf, and then Torn just makes sense to be defensive here for Kartana in my opinion, but we'll see what happens. So I made this like weird Victini spread. It was basically a Flame Charge Policy 3 attacks set, because I wanted him to lead Nidoking, but he led Gallade, so it didn't really work out how I wanted to. He goes for a Protect to scout maybe a Scarf Final Gambit, which is a fine play. And then I'm very bulky, I have like no special attack investment, so I can live any hit. But because I'm very bulky, I don't actually kill him with Flame Charge. So he's going to knock me out, or he's going to try to knock me out the next turn. I go into Klefki to kill him with Helmet, because I think keeping Victini alive could be helpful even though it does die to rocks. And I want to send it in when Nidoking comes out before he can get the Stealth Rock up, which is right here. So he actually reveals Sub. So Sub is an interesting bring. I was more scared of Scarf, like I said, but I get him Victini before he can rocks, and then I just break the Sub with it. Then I go Big Boof, right? He doesn't have a Bouffalant answer. Like, his only normal resist is this guy, and this guy cannot break the substitute except for one move, which he is going to have that one move. And you're going to see right here, it's Explosion. So Bouffalant takes out one Pokemon in exchange for rocks. Then he goes Tapu Fini, which is interesting because Tapu Fini definitely cannot kill Bouffalant. I thought he would go Hoopa, but he doesn't. So I just used the Head Charge to knock myself down into Cussap range, so then I could take him out with a return on the following attack. And Bouffalant pretty much gets 2 kills for 1. So really, really solid trade. I'm very ahead in the SAT game at this point, and I think this game is pretty much in the bag unless something crazy happens. Now, I go Kartana here because I'm Scarfed, and this thing definitely dies, obviously at -1. The only thing that could have happened here is if he was like Sash. And if he was Sash and he killed me, this game would have been really, really tough in my opinion. So maybe this was a misplay on me going into Kartana this early. But I just saw like the Smart Strike sweep like happening right before my eyes. I got excited. And I went into Kartana. Thankfully, I got bailed. He was not Focus Sash. And I do get the KO. Now he does go into Tornadus. This thing can be either very bulky, which is what I thought it was, and it would live anyway. Or it could be Scarf. I did not think Scarf at all, but he is end up going to be Scarf. But I just switch out into Guard Chop expecting a fire move regardless, and the Misty Terrain is up so I can't get burned, which is nice. Now I'm Yachi Berry. I don't know if this thing's going to be like Z-Ice or just strong attack, like Icy when just like a strong attack and try to kill me. But I'm Yachi Berry, so I stay in it and I try to weaken the Torn because once that's weakened, Scarf Kartana does win the game. Now he makes a play into Nidoking, which is fine. I'm going to go for Rocks here because, again, I want that Torn taking chip when he comes in. And I'm Yachi, so I live any hit that that guy wants to go for anyway. So I go for Rocks. Now I switch out into Klefki because I think he's going to go for an Ice move, and I want to save the Garchomp because it's useful with Yachi. He makes another double and goes into Nidoking. Now, this was a misplay on my part right here, going for Foul Play, because in the calcs it showed that Foul Play always broke the substitute. But my friend actually pointed out that when you make a Nidoking set on Showdown, it automatically puts 0 IVs if you do the special set. And on the calc, it does not do 0 IVs. So Foul Play was doing way more than it actually should have done. So it didn't break the sub. But thankfully, I did have Light Screen on this guy anyway. And I do have that Yachi Berry on Garchomp still. So I'm still okay here. I can just Earthquake to break the substitute and then send in Kartana. So Light Screen, Yachi Berry. Actually, because the Light Screen was up, even if I didn't have a Yachi Berry, it looked like I lived anyway. But I can send in Kartana after, click Smart Strike twice, and then win the game unless he's like very bulky or Scarf Torn, but then I still have my Thunderous. So it does turn out that he's actually Choice Scarfed. I did not think he would be, but locking himself into Heat Wave means that he cannot kill Thunderous in one, and Thunderbolt does take out Lejean, and we are able to win the game 1-0. Both these games pretty straightforward, no crazy plays made, nothing really going on. And we do get the 4th win of the series, getting us another point at least in the standings. And then game 6 and 7, our team lost, but again, game 8 clutch, Lux came in and got the win, so we take the series 5-3, and we got 4 points going into week 3. Now, unfortunately, week 3 did not go for our team how we wanted it to go. I actually played pretty early. This is game 2. We're down 0-1 in this series so far, and I'm back in Gen 9. We're up against Lax, and there's a Meganium on the screen, which was the talk of this game. I've done a good amount of mocks, and I think I played a Meganium one time, and it didn't do anything, so I was pretty under prep for that guy. So the Terra Captains are, my Raging Bolt is Terra Dragon, his Iron Moth is Terra Fairy, and his Gyarados is Terra Ground. Gyarados was the biggest threat by far in prep. Terra Ground is basically all I've seen in mocks, which makes a lot of sense. It can hit the Empoleon and the Raging Bolt. So I kind of did like a last day change to myself to kind of counteract Gyarados as much as I can, and you guys are going to see it come into play here. So I lead Tauros. Tauros is my Darkrai check, as crazy as that sounds, because all it needs is like Psychic, Ice Beam, and then Thunder or Focus Blast to hit Empoleon, and Darkrai just owns my team. It's fast and everything. So Spadef Tauros was like my quote-unquote check to Darkrai. So I wanted to lead with this in case he led with Darkrai. He leads with Ogerpon. I thought he was just going to go for either a Taunt or a Spike, but he ends up going for Counter on my Will-O-Wisp, so I get lucky there. I was thinking about attacking, but Will-O-Wisp was just the best play, because even if he went into Iron Moth, I get to at least see if that's like booster or anything. Now he goes into Landorus expecting an attack, which is a good play on him, and he does get that play correct just to get up the rocks. Then I go into my own Landorus to get up the rocks, as well as he is going to hit that U-turn button and go into Darkrai because I am threatened by an Ice Beam. So I make my play into my Darkrai check, and he actually reveals to be Adrenaline Orb because I do have 2 Intimidate users, so he kind of has prep for my 2 Pokemon, which makes a lot of sense. And then he lands the Hypnosis, and I'm in a tough spot. I was considering running actually Sleep Talk on Tauros just for this situation, but I did not end up having it. So I have to use my Iron Moth check kind of early, which is not ideal. He goes for a Focus Blast, and he does unfortunately miss. And you're going to see it does 44, so it wouldn't have killed me in 2, however I wouldn't be able to Wave Crash because then I would die to the recoil. Now I get a big hit off it, but then I switch out Empoleon because when it comes back in, it'll be in Torrent, which is huge. And then I sack off my Tauros. You're going to see I'm cussed at Berry, but I'm sleeping, so it does not really matter. Now I go into Empoleon to revenge with Aqua Jet because it does actually kill from here. I have quite a bit of attack. And then he goes into the Meganium. So Meganium is a problem for my team. Because of the Crackhead Raging Bolt set I brought. So if you guys don't know, I'm actually booster speed. He's going to go for Encore real quick. I'm actually booster speed Raging Bolt, which means you have to be 0 special attack EVs, minus special attack nature, and only 20 special attack IVs. The reason why I went with this set is because he doesn't have a good dragon resist on the team. It's only a fortress and he didn't bring it. And Bolt's natural special attack is still so high that Terra Dragon Pulse did still two-shot everything. And with the booster speed, I'm faster than everything. That's not boosting speed themselves. But I'm not going to be able to really break this Meganium too good because you guys are going to see Dragon Pulse only does 33. If I was just a max special attack Raging Bolt, like not even specs, Dragon Fang, nothing, just max special attack, this would have easily two-shot. So they didn't have the Meganium for the Raging Bolt. I guess they just had it for a good matchup, but like if I was just a normal set, this thing would have died in two. So unfortunately, that is not what's going to happen here, and I'm going to struggle to kill this guy. Turns out he's going to be Synthesis, Encore, Dragon Tail, and Leech Seed. Very annoying set. He catches me on the Calm Mind with the Encore, and he's going to be able to just kind of Leech Seed and then Dragon Tail my team around. If I had Substitute on anything, especially like Valiant, where his only attacking move is Dragon Tail, this would have been like, you know, set sub fodder, but I'm not. So they actually just end up bringing a set that just completely owns my team. I have to go into Landorus to taunt him as he does just Dragon Tail me out. And he's taunted, so he has to Dragon Tail again, so I just figure I'll drop a Draco to do 47 as he details, but he actually misses. So I go into Valiant because he has to, again, Dragon Tail again. And then here, I thought he was going to Synthesis here because my Moonblast only does 38. But he just goes for Encore, and I'm fine with that because his only Moonblast is that Iron Moth, and it'll take rocks, so I'm okay with that. But he ends up saving the Meganium, which is smart on his end, and sacks the Cornerstone because it's burned, right? It doesn't really make sense to keep that guy around. Now Moth comes in, and it does show to be booster special attack. And before the game started, I was really scared of Toxic Spike, but because my Raging Bolt already uses booster and he knows my set, Toxic Spike wasn't the worst. I just didn't want Valiant to get poisoned, so he does end up going for the Toxic Spike, but he dies to an Aqua Jet here if he doesn't Terastallize here, so he has to switch. I really wanted to call the Meganium and click Ice Spinner just to kill him, because this is like the only turn that Meganium could come in and heal. Everything else is faster and does too much to it. So I really should have clicked Ice Spinner here, but I didn't want to just sack the Empoleon for no reason versus Moth. And so I Aqua Jet, he lives it, and then he's going to be able to Synthesis this guy up. And we're going to be doing this again, where it's going to be very hard for me to kill this guy. So he goes for double Synthesis to get very healthy, and expecting a taunt, I guess he wants to switch out here. And it's a good play because he brings in his Landorus, and when I taunt it, I know he's going to slow U-turn, so I kind of have to give him momentum into something. I choose Empoleon because it can live a U-turn barely, but it will die to rocks, I believe, the next time. So in comes Gyarados. This is one of the first changes I made, pretty much like the day right before, versus Gyarados, and that is going to be a Mirror Herb Brambleghast, because Brambleghast does naturally outspeed Gyarados, and it will kill with a Power Whip, and again he's Terra Ground, so even if he doesn't Terra, Power Whip will still kill him, and now I'm faster than everything on this team. So I go for Power Whip, he chooses to go Landorus to get the Intimidate, and he does barely live, but this does also give me a Rapid Spin, which is really nice. So Brambleghast came in clutch here for sure, as he does bring in this annoying Meganium. Another thing with this Meganium set is if I was just Strength Sap on Brambleghast, the only thing he could do is Dragon Tail, but I could just Strength Sap on his Dragon Tail and then just go back into Bramble again and do that over and over, and he would just run out of Dragon Tail. So again, it's just so I just did not expect this type of set, but it ended up working, so I can't really say anything. So I'm going to have to basically switch around on his Encore turns and then attack on his Dragon Tail turns and try to kind of catch him like doing a recover so I can get as many free hits on this thing as possible. So I think he's going to recover. I go Valiant to get a hit off. And I Moonblast, now expecting a Dragon Tail here. I kind of stay in because, again, I have to get a lot of plays right to kind of get as much damage on this guy as possible to try and stall him out of Synthesis. So I know he's going to recover here, so I go for Bolt, and I go for a Calm Mind because I think he's going to Leech Seed or Dragon Tail. Dragon Tail would have been fine, but he does go for Leech. So now I can get a big Draco Meteor off. I would have done around 80%, and I get a critical hit and I kill him. So doing 80 would have been super nice. I don't know if he clicked Synthesis on that turn. If he did, he would have only had 2 left anyways, so then I would have swapped out, obviously, into like Valiant again. That crit did definitely help, though. I think this Meganium might have gotten at least 1 more kill, maybe 2. I don't know. He was running low on PP for recovery, but that crit definitely sped up the game and definitely put me back in the lead, in my opinion. I think at this point he was ahead. So it definitely is a timely crit for sure. Now he comes into Gyarados, and again, I'm very weak minus special attack, you know, -1. And Gyarados is pretty good spit off, so he can live any hit. I do have Thunderbolt as my last, but he can Terastallize into a ground type. So I go into my other change that I made pretty much the day before, which is Mirror Herb on Landorus as well. Because again, I do naturally outspeed Gyarados with Landorus, so I counter both of his Dragon Dances with Mirror Herb. And I go for Outrage. Outrage, Earthquake, last 2 attacks, and because even if he Terras, then he still dies. And this thing is Terra Fairy, so he can pick me off here, but at this point the game is over. I have a Scarf Valiant, which is faster than the remaining 2 Pokemon. I have an Aqua Jet Empoleon. I have a Shadow Sneak Brambleghast, so the game is pretty much over after that Meganium died. And you can see him get frustrated because his other loss last week before this, he also got hacked pretty bad. So I haven't said that. I think he had the game had that crit not happened. But looking back at it, I think it would have been a lot closer than it seemed because his Meganium was running low on recovery. So I'm not really too sure how the game would have went, but that crit definitely pretty much secured me the win here. So I do end up going 3-0 my first time in DPL, which is a really good feeling for sure. But it's definitely not time to take the foot off the pedal. I definitely got to keep it up, support my team as much as I can, and we can go from there. So thank you guys so much for watching this little yapping video about DPL mains. I'll probably have another video. I'll probably have another video at the end of the regular season, basically talking about the second half of the season, and then I'll probably have another video after finals is concluded. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys later.